Welcome back to Travel Check-ins. I'm Saida, one half of this channel. I moved to Kenya a little bit over a year ago with my husband. We've been living here full time, and people often think that moving to Kenya is like this big complicated leap. But what if I told you that life here has actually made me healthier, more grounded, and more financially clear? So today I'm sharing 5 of the real benefits of moving to Kenya as an American based on my experience of actually living here, not vacationing and not being a tourist. So welcome back again to our channel. And the number one thing that has been a benefit of moving to Kenya has allowing us to be less affected by the day-to-day drama of America. We're not waking up every day being bombarded by the news and the elections and tariffs and price increases on groceries or rent and all of that political chaos and outrage that kind of makes people get emotional in the U.S. And so as Americans, we still are somewhat affected by it because our financial life, economic life, and the lives of our children and grandchildren are still attached to the U.S. But while that's the case, we're not affected by the day-to-day. So if you're someone who is looking to live outside of the U.S., that is going to be a benefit, and that has been a benefit for us. But if you are still in the U.S., one thing I would say is learn to protect your eye gates and your ear gates and be very particular about what you listen to and what you watch all day. Because even when I was in the U.S., I stopped really watching a lot of the news, and I was very particular about what kind of news I was taking in, because that can really affect your emotional, and mental state as well as your spiritual state. So those cost of living pressures, as far as like groceries going up, it's not quite hitting the same. It's not as loud and it's not as aggressive when you're living outside of the country. In fact, living outside of the country, one of the benefits is that you don't have to deal with like the expensive groceries. And the other thing that falls under that less affected by the day-to-day drama of America is a lot of times when you're in countries outside of the U.S., you don't have people who are just like performing for social media identities or like trying to fake it until you make it. People outside of the U.S. are kind of like who they are, and what you see is what you get. So it makes the mental load quite a bit lighter, especially if you have young children, teenagers. I think that could be a benefit for them. As Jermaine and I, we don't have young children. We have adult children and we have 3 grandchildren. So that's something that you can definitely take into consideration, because I think young people these days, especially in the West, are experience a lot of pressure to live up to these social media identities. And that's one of the benefits of living outside of the U.S. and not being as connected to social media. Like when I'm in other countries, people are not constantly walking around on their phones as much. Well, quite a bit in Thailand, but people are not walking around like glued to their phones as much as we do in the U.S. So does anybody else feel like America is emotionally exhausting even when nothing is wrong in your personal life? Let me know down in the comment section, because I know for me, it felt a little exhausting, even though everything was great in our personal life. But for us, the reason why I felt exhausting is because we felt like we were not really operating in our purpose when it came to ministry. And so when we were able to make that shift and that transition, that kind of changed for us. So another benefit that I have experienced of living in Kenya, and not just Kenya, but living abroad, is physical health and well-being. It has tremendously improved. You guys may not know, but I was like very, very sick prior to us coming to Kenya. I had severe anemia. My iron was low, and I was doing all of these things to take in iron, but my body was not absorbing iron. And so one of the things is that here, the foods are more nutrient dense, and not just here in Kenya, but even in countries like Thailand, their produce is more nutrient dense. The way they care for their livestock is very different from the U.S., and they operate on less processed food. So my iron levels improve greatly naturally through my diet, and I was eating all the right things even when I was in the U.S., but the food is just processed differently, and a lot of our nutrients are taken out of our food, and it's very expensive to eat all organic, like organic beef, organic steak, organic produce in the U.S. So my iron levels have improved naturally through my diet. I'm getting more sunlight, which means more vitamin D, because vitamin D and iron, they work together. And especially as African American women, a lot of times we do deal with low iron or iron deficiencies. So the more sunlight comes into play, because in some of these countries, in say like the Middle East, Asia, and also on the continent of Africa, specifically Kenya, In Nairobi, you can be outside pretty much year round. The weather is just conducive for you to be outside, and you can get some sunlight at all times of the day. So you can naturally get more vitamin D. Whereas if you live in the US and you have 4 distinct seasons, those winter months can be hard. And winter months used to be hard for me because they weren't sunny. I couldn't get outside and it was always gloomy. Here in Kenya, I'm able to eat how my body actually likes to eat, and it's not a luxury. So in the US, I felt like I was like eating like luxury food when I wasn't. So what I would do is I would buy steaks at Costco, and you guys know them big packs of steaks at Costco they can run $45 a pack for 4 to 5 steaks to $75 a pack, just depending, because they're usually like $9.99 a pound on sale, and they were like $11.99 when they weren't on sale, and they probably even gone up from there. And they give you these big steaks, you get about 4 or 5 of them. And I used to cut them in half. But that is a lot of money to pay for a pack of steaks. That is a lot of money. Whereas here, like, you can get all the beef you want for very affordable prices. Like, you can get 2 pounds of beef for like $4. So the other physical health and well-being that I experience here in the States is that my hair is growing a lot. And the reason that is because I'm manipulating my hair less. I have 4C hair. My hair is very coarse, and it coils a lot. And so detangling and all that stuff, if you are a female, you watching, you know that takes quite a bit of time. Or if you're married to someone who has 4C hair or thicker hair, you know, just managing natural hair just takes time. Here, I'm experiencing manipulating my hair a lot less, and so my hair is growing. I'm able to maintain moisture, and it's all due to protective styles. That is actually normal here. Like, you can look left and right, you'll see either women have their hair braided in their natural hair, or they'll have a protective style with like extensions or some kind of added hair, and it's normal. It's not something that's like a luxury thing like in the States where you're paying hundreds of dollars. You can get your hair braided here for as low as $12. And so self-care services are affordable. They're not something that's just like so astronomically priced that it becomes a luxury, something as normal as like getting your hair done as a African-American woman or a Black woman living in the States or living abroad. So having access to that at a more affordable price allows me to keep my hair braided longer, not have to detangle as quite often. I'm leaving my braids in about anywhere between a month to 3 months, and then I'm taking out my hair, so I'm detangling my hair less, which means less hair loss. Sometimes you don't have to work harder for better health. If you align yourself with the environment where wellness is normal, you can actually experience a healthier and more balanced lifetime. And I've heard people say that when they've left the States and moved here, they've naturally lost weight. Me, I gained weight moving here because I started eating more because my iron levels went up. So for me, it's the opposite. So I have to work towards keeping my weight at bay. But a lot of people, they've come here and they've actually lost weight because of the lifestyle. So another thing that is a benefit for me, number 3, is a better investor lifestyle. So part of what I and my husband do for a living is we trade in the U.S. stock market, and the time change from the U.S. to here is 7 hours. So what that means is that instead of us getting up at 9:30 in the morning in the U.S. to trade in the stock market or to look at the stock market and to invest in the stock market, we are investing in the evenings. So in Kenya right now, because of the daylight savings time in the U.S., we're investing. The market opens at 5:30 p.m. here in Kenya. It's typically 4:30, and so in the U.S. that's 9:30 a.m. and being able to trade in the evening is more natural with my rhythm. Now, Jermaine doesn't really like trading in the evening. I love it. When we're in Thailand, we start trading at about, I think, 7. When we're in Dubai, it's about 4 p.m. Or 4:30, I think, in Dubai. So being able to start your workday or my workday in the evening and work for about 4 hours, really more like 2 hours, really kind of works for me better than getting up in the morning when I'm most groggy and not as clear. It's changed the way that I trade. Instead of that like fast-paced day trading, I'm more of a long-term trader because I'm not able to be up into midnight waiting for the market to close. So my trading style has become different. I don't have all day like when I was in the US from 9:30 to 4:30 to just be in the market making decisions. I have a smaller window because I have to get to bed at some point, being that the time zone changes are different. So when life slowed down for me here, my trading style also slowed down for me. And it made me really look at a different way of trading that allows me to just go to bed and not really worry about what's going on in the market, not worry about those short-term changes in the market. Number 4, as far as a benefit to living in Kenya and also living abroad is being free from consumer pressure. So there's not this constant pressure to buy something or upgrade or compete because somebody else gets a new car, somebody else, upgrades and gets a new house, or somebody gets this or gets that. You don't feel that pressure because people are really living in a way that it's like they're not steady trying to buy things. And even those people who are middle class in, say, Kenya or Thailand, even people who are like middle class, they're not really as consumeristic as we are in the US. Like they'll buy some things, but you're not seeing people dripping with labels. Designer labels are not the identity here. I guess that's what I would say. People overseas on the continent of Africa and maybe in Asia, I would say, like Southeast Asia, dress really nice. They have nice things. I always go and I'm like, ooh, let me get this, let me get that. I want to pick up some items because their clothes are different, but it's not label based. And even when you're in places like Southeast Asia, people, if they're going to get into labels, they don't care if it's dupes. You'll find dupes all over Thailand and people that have fake this, fake that. And I don't know, I can't tell the difference, but I think a good part of them are dupes because you see dupes in all of the malls. But you get to be yourself without having to prove yourself. You don't have to have this or that to prove yourself. And maybe there are some things that I'm not aware of, but when it comes to clothing labels, it's not that big of a thing. Now, there's some parts of Bangkok, you can go and you can realize it's really consumerism focused because they have all the high-end designer stores like your Hermes and, your Louis Vuitton stores. And the same thing when we were in Dubai. But when you're in Kenya, you're not really having any of those kinds of pressures because those stores aren't even here. So number 5 on my list of benefits of living abroad, specifically in Kenya, is living in Kenya. Now, this is for Kenya. Living in Kenya gives us easier access to the rest of the world. That's just point blank, period. So if you're taking any notes from this video, that's a big takeaway. Kenya gives you easy and quick access to multiple African countries. So you can hit Ethiopia, you can hit Tanzania, you can hit Uganda. It's so many places you can go. You can go to Malawi. And then there's just so many places within Kenya you can enjoy. But you can get easy access to multiple countries on the continent of Africa by being in Kenya. Now, Jermaine and I, we haven't really exercise those things for a variety of reasons, which I'm not going to tackle in this particular video. When we travel, we do like to head 5 hours away, which is Dubai. Usually when we leave Kenya, we head over to Dubai because Dubai is the gateway to the Middle East and Asia. So once you hit your flight from Nairobi to Dubai, then you can go anywhere. You can go to Doha, Qatar, anywhere you want to go in the UAE and throughout the Middle East. And then you can also from there, you can fly over to Asia and you can hit Southeast Asia where you can experience Thailand, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia. And flights once you get into Southeast Asia are very, very affordable. You can fly from, say, Thailand to all the different islands, Koh Samui and all of these different places in Thailand, and then also even places outside of Thailand for as low as $50 one way for a flight. So what happens is now these countries for us have become our normal travel destinations. So when we have to leave Kenya on a visa run, we're typically hitting Dubai and we're hitting Southeast Asia, unless we know we're planning to go back to the US. So there's a lot of places in Southeast Asia. We just got back from Thailand. We're going to be sharing that on Beyond Travel Check-ins. We're going to be walking through the places that we stayed, cost of living while we stayed there, and how that's going to be one of our bumper hubs on this side of the world, because we understand that without a long-term visa here in Kenya, that we do have to leave the country from time to time, and we don't mind because we are slow travelers and we do like Southeast Asia and we do like going over to the Middle East. So living in Kenya opens up the globe to you, not just one country. You may say, I want to move to Kenya, and I know a lot of people who move here to Kenya and they plant themselves here, and that's fine, that's wonderful. But Jermaine and I, we like to travel. We like to travel hack with points and miles, and so being in Kenya gives us the ability to travel to all of these different countries And it gives us access to all of these different countries because we've made Kenya our home. We get to bounce around and visit other places. Guys, if this video has been valuable to you and if you want to support our channel, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, drop any comments that you have down in the comment section below. If you are living in Kenya as an expat or from the diaspora, what are some of your favorite countries to visit? What is a country you would visit if you had $2,000? Which of these countries would you hop to? And what have been your top benefits of living in Kenya? Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye.